I do appreciate you taking time to talk with me. I am familiar with some of your products. Um, the Genesis. I don't think my background's working too well with my black shirt. Anyway, I've worked with the Dreamcast one as well. Two different versions. One with the external HDMI cable and one where it's all built in. Oh, and the Xbox cable. I've worked with that one as well.
I see. So the 32X, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
I
I was
honestly
one of
didn't
those.
care. I'm not gonna pretend like I really care about the 32X. I mean, Doom is
people
all
don't.
right, but beyond that, the library is just so small. Yeah.
The only game on that one that I really ever cared about was Space Harrier.
Okay, that's a good
And
one. Yeah.
Afterburner. And Afterburner. That was the other one.
Space Harrier, I think had some weird color issues, but I think we resolved that. I
Not
don't
on the
quite
one I
remember.
have.
No?
It's really,
Okay.
really, really bright. But it's not. It doesn't really matter. 32X uses an off-standard. It's not normal, and unless you use high-end RGB, it isn't going to look proper at all.
Okay. Yeah.
So. So anyway, like I said, I do appreciate you taking time to talk with me. Um, and can you tell me about the company, like how it
So,
started?
for many years now, I've been working in retro gaming, and then out of the blue, my buddy from high school, Denny, messaged me and said, "Do you want to make supplements that will cure motion sickness for VR gaming?" And I said, "That sounds dumb, but you know what? It's it's a tax write-off. It's worth pursuing." And I hadn't talked to Denny in a long time, so I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" It turns out the formulation for making candy is a lot cheaper than you'd think. It's like $3,000 gets you formulation and a first batch. It's like, it's not bad.
Hmm.
It's worth a try. We never did it. The VR market never took off. But at the same time, I was dismissed from my former company. I said, yeah, I'm just going to do this myself. Although Pound Technology launched in 2016, 2017, the idea for making adapter cables came a long, long time ago.
Okay.
I was reading something on, I think it was this Sega 16 forums,
Mhm.
and this guy in Deep South, he said he imported his own RGB S-cart cable, and then he made an adapter for his television to component. And he had to buy a special adapter because oftentimes they come in black and white unless you got the right one.
Mhm.
And so I took the idea, I went to the factory and said, hey, I want you to make this item. But back then, about 8 years ago, the cheapest the factory could do it, the cost was already approaching $40. And we are like, no, I
That's
don't
just
see
to
it.
make it. So
That's just to make it,
okay.
yeah. But there's been huge advances since then in video encoders, and now it's come down to a very affordable price level. So that's how Pound came to be. That's how we decided to focus on audiovisual products.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. But you also have a Super Nintendo clone,
Okay,
Challenger,
that's
right?
been discontinued.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yeah, okay, we sold that for about half a year. It didn't pan out. What happened was the Super Nintendo clones have a sort of quasi-monopoly over in Asia. The company that makes the integrated circuits to make Super Nintendo clones has no documentation, no data sheet. They don't
Okay.
tell you how to use it at all. So when they first started selling it, there was a handful of companies that bought it, and most of them failed badly.
Okay.
As a result, only the two factories that knew how to use it could continue to buy the chip to make it. So after I got dismissed, I was like, you know what? Those clones are easy money, I told myself. So we bought, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000. Didn't really do well. We just about broke even, and then the rest we just liquidated, and I just got out of it.
I,
It's not as good as it used to be.
I think
Yeah.
it's still on your website, actually.
It could be. I mean, it's a good-looking product.
Yeah, under
There's nothing wrong
consoles,
with it.
the
Yeah.
SNES Challenger.
Right, we named that after the space shuttle, I think. Yeah, we were gonna do the whole line related to space shuttles because we are NASA freaks, but
That's cool.
it didn't pan out. It didn't pan out, and that's okay.
Yeah, I never
We found
actually
a
used
niche,
one of
yeah.
these, but I remember seeing it. I ended up buying an analog, so.
Oh, okay, you got too much money. It's a good product, but it is quite expensive. Yeah.
It is. I have the I don't have the analog for the NES. That one's way out of my price range, but I did buy the Genesis and Super NES one, and then the retro USB AVS for the NES. I love retro
I see.
games. They're great. I venture to say they're better than some of the modern ones.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you how I got into retro gaming.
That
to
would be
begin with.
great. Yeah.
So when I first started, I just was working at a dance pad factory. They were just close to my house. They were selling dance pads, and then the manager one day says, "Hey, you like old games?" Like, yeah. It's like, "Oh, can you tell me about them?" And I became product manager. But before that, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I think my parents took me to the store. I told them I wanted an N64,
Yeah.
and they show up and they're like, "Hey, wait, Game Boys are like $10 now, and games are like." You get like a whole stack of games like for $40. You can get like the entire library, and that's how I became a retro gamer. My parents were just cheap, but it wasn't such a bad thing. Retro gaming, unfortunately, is not affordable anymore. It's oftentimes more expensive than modern games.
It can be, yeah.
But yeah, I don't care anymore. I'm stuck on the old games. Yeah.
So, I don't know about you, but me playing them, I'm in my 40s, so when I start playing modern games, I get a headache pretty quickly. The older stuff, just far easier to play. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier to stay engaged with, as far as I'm concerned. So, I always prefer that. So when I first started doing this, I was looking for any way I possibly could to get the old games connected, and that's when I found Hyperkin, Pound. Who else makes them? Old School, and it's funny because Level Hike's another one, and then what's the other one? Keiko. So it's weird because every single time I post anything about your company or any of the others I just listed, there's immediately downvotes. It's like within seconds, somebody's out there just waiting to say, they suck, they suck, they suck. It's the weirdest thing in the world. I don't know why people hate technology that they're not going to buy anyway.
Well, we actually get a lot of that kind of negative feedback as well, and it's generally from people who would never buy our product anyways. So I don't know why they feel the need to comment. I am not going to put out a product that's going to equate to the FrameMeister or the analog consoles. It's just not going to happen.
And people aren't looking for that if they're buying it. They're looking for something that's going to be $30 or less.
Right. We wanted to price something that's affordable. We chose $30 as a price because we wanted to be half the price of a brand new game. It should be in that range, accessible to everyone. If you wanted to go higher, by all means, go ahead. But it reminds me of like my neighbor who always talks trash about my diesel 4-cylinder. I didn't go get the big honking petrols. Like, I don't need the power and I don't care. It fits my sand bucket and my children's toys. That's it.
Yeah, that's all you really need, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these technologies because, some of them are very similar, some of them are different. And what I've done a lot of on this channel is I put side-by-side comparisons of differing tech. And then not a whole lot sent to me, but when something is sent to me, I never say what I prefer one over the other. I just leave them there. You guys decide what you think is best because I'm trying to do it as a customer-friendly type of thing. I have no horse in this race. So, it's interesting because some of them are very similar. The Pound on Dreamcast and the Hyperkin on Dreamcast are very similar.
They are the same.
They are the same? Okay.
Yeah, I can confirm. Yeah.
Okay. So, I know that what does it use? A VGA to HDMI encoder?
Yeah, it uses a VGA to HDMI encoder. What happened was after I got dismissed, the factory came back to me and said, "Hey, Paul, your idea, we finally made it happen. We can make it at the price level you want. It's completed." It took quite a while for them to do it. However,
this is Hyperkin, right?
Well, Hyperkin's not a factory.
Okay.
We contract manufacture. So the contract manufacturer said, "I can sell it to you, Paul, because it's your idea and you're my friend. However, Hyperkin's my biggest customer, so I'm going to sell it both."
Oh. Okay.
And then later on he added Level Hike as well. So I am going to say, at the very beginning they were all identical. After that, there's been a fork.
Okay.
I did bring in my own engineer. Yeah, so the factory was very kind to me. He didn't have to extend that favor to me. He pretty much made my business possible. But it was my idea, and I thankfully I never signed an NDA with my former employer. So there's no competition agreement, nothing like that. So yeah, many of the cables are identical. Everything else has a certain fork to it.
If you got this far, you probably liked the video. Well, how about checking out some of these other ones? And if you like them too, please subscribe. Have a good one.